Hello, everyone, and I am back here today with another video. Let's check if these are all in order. Basically, what we're going to be doing today is rating teams off of, basic power rankings. This is done all over YouTube. I wanted to give my take on it. So, yeah. First, we'll be starting with the Arizona Cardinals, which I believe are one of two teams that really have the potential that could go 0-17. The other teams a bit later. But first, they're obviously tanking. They did it last year. They're going to do it again next year. Second, their quarterback is hurt. Their main quarterback, who is Kyler Murray, is hurt right now. Is he good? Not really. But they don't have a quarterback that is at least decent. They don't have anyone to throw. They don't have anyone to run that's that good. Their best receiver just left them. Their team is horrible right now. And even when Kyler Murray comes back, I don't see them winning a game. Mostly because they'll definitely be tanking at that point. Next, we have the Atlanta Falcons, which, NFC South is pretty weak. So I believe that they could make the playoffs. Not because they're a good team, but because, their division's terrible. One thing that I like about them is their running potential. They just drafted Bijan Robinson. They were already a really big running team back in 2022. So their running offense is going to be scary. Their passing offense is where the off the fence comes from. Because we don't know much about Desmond Ridder. I'm pretty sure he went 3-3 last year because they used Mariota for most of the season. So if he's good, then they'll definitely probably win the division because they did make their defense a bit better. But if Ritter's not good, then I don't see them making the playoffs unless they win the division, which is going to be in contention with two other teams. Really, to me, it's only one, but I just feel like I have to put that other team there. But next, we have the Baltimore Ravens. And they're obviously a playoff team. They are not Super Bowl contenders, and not close. Their team is good. They just added some offensive firepower with Odell Beckham and the draft, where they drafted another wide receiver. And they just extended Lamar Jackson, so he's going to be staying for a while. What I'm worried about for this team, though, is that injuries are common. Just last year, Lamar Jackson, when he was injured, ruined the whole team. If they had Lamar Jackson, they were winning that playoff game against the Bengals. So, if the team can stay healthy, if Lamar Jackson stays healthy, and he balls out like he did back in 2019 where he won his MVP, then yeah, they're definitely Super Bowl contenders. But I am worried about the health of the team. Next, we have the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have a good roster. They just can't make the Super Bowl. No matter what they do, they can't make the Super Bowl. The AFC is just too good. They have to go through the Bengals. They have to go through the Chiefs. They have to go through their own division with the Jets and the Dolphins. And Josh Allen's clearly a top 3 QB, but his performance is a bit shaky. And I'm starting to feel like he's getting a little washed. He's still really good. He's top 3. But if he starts to do worse and worse, then the Bills are not going to be that good of a team. Stuff with Stephon Diggs is obviously shaky. He's still with the Bills. He's not trying to go away. But there are some signs that, if things don't go out his way, he will leave. Just this year, he wasn't showing up to practices at the start. He is now, so he's not going to leave. But he wasn't showing up to practices at the start, and I fear that if the Buffalo Bills don't have the season they're expecting, that he might want to get traded. Anyway, next is the Carolina Panthers, which is another team, NFC South. I like Bryce Young. He was the first overall pick, and I'm worried that they don't start him. Because Bryce Young is probably the most NFL-ready quarterback. And I've heard that they're still planning on starting Andy Dalton. And if they do that, then I don't see them doing good for first few games. They got rid of DJ Moore to the Bears for the number 1 overall pick. But they do have Adam Thielen, which he's a pretty good wide receiver. So, all that, I feel like they're going to be the ones that win the division just based off quarterbacks. But don't be surprised if the Falcons do it first. Now, the Bears. Me personally, I don't think the Bears will be that good. Will they go for the number 1 overall pick? No. But I am not high on Justin Fields. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback. He can run. He can sometimes throw, but I just don't think he's that good of a quarterback. And that is because first 2-3 seasons he hasn't done much. Just last year he went 3-14. Now, they just got some new wide receivers. So, if Justin does not do good, then I feel like the Bears could tank and try to get a better quarterback in the draft. Or maybe trade for one. But if he plays like a 7-10, 8-9, then they'll definitely keep him. And I think they should, because he would obviously be improving. But I just don't think they're that good of a team. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think they're close to winning the division with the others. And I don't think they're just that good of a team. They're, not overrated like some other teams, but I have seen some people kind of overrating them. So, next is the Bengals, and they're obviously a Super Bowl team. They can go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. They can go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in the league, behind Mahomes, of course. They have 2 of the best wide receivers in T. Higgins and my boy, Jamar Chase. But they don't have a tight end that's that good because they just traded him to the Panthers. And their defense is alright. They also traded some defensive players like Jesse Bates to the Falcons. But that doesn't really matter when you have great quarterback, great wide receivers. They're definitely in contention for the Super Bowl. I have them personally going to the Super Bowl against someone else. But next is the Browns. And people are overrating the Browns a lot. I've heard people say that if Deshaun Watson goes back to when he was on the Texans, they're going to make the playoffs. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Their team, it really is not that good. They have a great running back in Nick Chubb. And their defense is okay. But I just don't feel, even if Deshaun Watson is like great. He plays better than when he was on the Texans. I still feel like they go 8-9 and miss the playoffs. I don't think they're that good, especially in the division they're in with the Steelers, the Bengals, the Ravens. I mean, just now I have the Super Bowl contenders as the Bengals and the Ravens as a playoff team. I just don't think they can go toe to toe with their division. They might go 0-6 in their division, honestly. Maybe 1-5 or 2-4, but they could definitely go 0-6 because they just don't have as good of a roster as the other teams in the division. Next is Cowboys. And the Cowboys, they haven't been Super Bowl team for the last 30 years, and they won't again. They can't make it past the divisional. If they play the Niners, they're done. If they play the Eagles, they're probably done. They could easily get upset by a different team in the wild card, because I don't have them winning their division, obviously. I don't have much hope for Dak. He was tied for the most interceptions, and he was hurt for 3 games or more. It might be more. You just need... Dak needs to step it up this season and not throw as much interceptions if the Cowboys want to be good. And I know they have some great wide receivers. They have a pretty good defense. They have my boy from the Colts. But actually, they have multiple from the Colts. Just traded Stephon Gilmore. But I just don't think they can make the Super Bowl. Next is the Denver Broncos, and they'll definitely be pretty good. Not pretty good. They'll be an alright team. Russell Wilson's going to take a massive step with their new head coach. They don't really have much else, though. That's the problem. They have a potentially good quarterback. It depends. Sean Payton can coach him, like when he was on the Seahawks. But what do they really have? They have one good wide receiver. Their defense was top 10 last year, but I'm not too sure that they're going to do good again this year. Because they had some signs last year of, not doing well. Like when they blew a lot to the Rams on Christmas. So, I think they're going to do better. But they're not going to make the playoffs, especially when their division is so tough. Lions, they're going to make the playoffs. I believe that Jared Goff is the 4th best quarterback in the NFC. And obviously the NFC's weak right now, so it's pretty easy in. They have good wide receivers, although Jameson Williams is suspended for 6 games. I still think Amon-Ra St. Brown will probably carry, as he did last year. Their defense is alright. It's not the best. And the division they're in is... you can say it's weak. They're only really contending against one team, which some people are underrating. But they probably could win the division. I still think that a different team will. But I have high hopes on the Lions. And I do hope that they do good. Wait, one other thing that I mentioned. They traded their running back that did really good, Jamal, to the Saints. I don't like that. And I did not like that they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs that high. But still, they're definitely going to make the playoffs. Packers, Packers, I don't have hope for Jordan Love. They don't have a good wide receiver core. They have a couple good defensive players, but not. Yeah, Jair really carries the defense, honestly. They don't have much going on in offense, and I just don't think they will be that good. Jordan Love, I don't have hopes for him. I don't think he's going to be that good. Sure, he sat 4 years behind the future MVP, Aaron Rodgers. But they just lost too much and didn't gain enough for me to say that, they might have a chance, even in the division they're in. But they'll probably be better than at least Bears. Texans, call me biased. I don't think the Texans will get the number 1 pick, mostly because they can't. It'll just go to the Cardinals. But other than Will Anderson and CJ Stroud, who's on their team? Who's on their team? No one. There's no one good on their team other than Laramie Tunsil. There's just not anything on that team. They're in rebuilding mode. I could see them tanking. Unless CJ Stroud is just Patrick Mahomes levels of good and can carry even without a wide receiver, I don't see them being that good. And that moves on to the Indianapolis Colts. Now, they should be right here, but I'm a biased Colts fan. And I believe, hear me out, I believe that if Anthony Richardson is good, we could go 12-5. Now, hear me out. First, and the biggest thing, we have Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is a top 3 running back, and he's not 3. He is not 3. If he comes back like he did in the 2021 season and doesn't get hurt, he'll carry us to at least 9 wins. He carried us to 9 wins when we had Carson Wentz. So he's definitely going to carry us if he stays healthy. Second, people are underrating the wide receivers. We just drafted Josh Downs, who's a great wide receiver. We have Michael Pittman, who is severely underrated. We still have some guys like Woods, who's our tight end, who's one of our tight ends. We still have Alex Pierce. Our wide receivers are underrated. The O-line, it's not the best, but we've never really had a good O-line. Our defense, we have some good defensive players. We don't have the best defense, but I believe that our offense could carry. If Anthony Richardson is good, then we will go 12-5. If he's not, then probably 7-10. We're not going to go 1-16, 2-15, 3-14 like a lot of people are saying. We will do okay as long as Jonathan Taylor isn't hurt. Moving on, we have the Jaguars. And the Jaguars, they'll win the division. Sure, I just spouted all that nonsense about the Colts. But if I'm being realistic, they'll win the division. Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback, and he will make bigger steps like he did last year. They have a great head coach. They have just gotten Calvin Ridley, who was off 1 year of gambling. They have Travis Etienne, he's pretty good too. Their defense is alright. And yeah, they might win a playoff game, but they're not beating someone like the Bengals, the Chiefs. They wouldn't beat the Bills or the Ravens. If they played us, they might beat us, but, we don't talk about it. Next is the Chiefs. And obviously, They're a Super Bowl contender. As much as it pains to say that, they are a Super Bowl contender. They have the best quarterback in the division. They have the best quarterback in the conference. They have the best quarterback in the league. They have the best tight end in the league. They don't need wide receivers. They didn't need wide receivers last year. Their best wide receiver last year was Juju Smith-Schuster. They don't need wide receivers. Their defense doesn't even need to be that good. As long as they have Patrick Mahomes, they're a Super Bowl contender. Unless he gets injured more than, breaking his foot. He didn't actually break his foot. He, sprained his ankle. As long as he doesn't sprain his ankle, he's fine. Even if he sprains his ankle, he's fine. He's the team. As long as he's there, they'll keep winning. They also have probably the best coach in the league with Andy Reid. Stupid Chiefs. Anyway, Raiders, I think they'll go 2-15. People are underrating Jimmy Garoppolo. I feel like he is a good quarterback. And they do have Devontae Adams. But other than that, their team really isn't that good. The division they're in, they'll probably go 1-5. And the conference they're in is too hard. If they were in the NFC, they'll probably win 8 games. But in the AFC is just too hard. That's why I have them as number 1 pick contender. Moving on, we have the Chargers. Which, this might make some people mad. But I don't think they're an outright playoff team. I feel like people overrate their quarterback heavy. Justin Herbert is good. Don't get me wrong. But he is not top 5, top 10. He's probably top 15. I don't feel like he is as good as everyone makes out to seem. They do have some good wide receivers. Their defense is good. But with the division they're in, the Chiefs, conference they're in, I believe they could definitely miss the playoffs. They missed the playoffs in 2021. They barely got in this year. Well, I wouldn't say barely. They got in quite comfortably. But I don't think that with the conference they're in right now, that they're an outright guaranteed playoff team. But they are good, don't get me wrong. And they definitely could and probably will make the playoffs. But they're not a guarantee. The Rams, almost messed up there. The Rams, they have Matthew Stafford. He's pretty good. They still have Cooper Kupp. He's pretty good. Well, he's probably top 5 receiver in the league. But I don't see them doing as good as their Super Bowl year. And I don't see them breaking 500. I think I have them going 6-11 or 7-10. Because they're definitely washed at this point. They got rid of a lot of players They got rid of a lot of players, moving their best defensive player to the Dolphins, which, in my opinion, was not the best idea. Their better defensive players, it seems like they're probably going to leave as well. And the offense is just not as good anymore. I do believe that Cam Akers is going to do good as a running back. But he's not going to carry. He's not top 10. And I don't think Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp are just that good anymore. Cooper Kupp is Matthew Stafford's definitely going to be washed after what happened to him. But moving on, we have the Miami Dolphins. The ones that we're just talking about, got Rams' best defensive player, Jalen Ramsey. And hear me out. If Tua remains healthy, they're Super Bowl contenders. Tua, I feel like people forget that Tua was basically an MVP candidate before he got hurt. He was playing great. He was one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league until he got hurt. And he got his first concussion. He got another one. Then he got another one. And it hindered his ability to play. It brought the team down to 9-8 when they were 8-3. And they barely made the playoffs. They almost beat the Bills with that team in the playoffs. They almost beat the Bills. And people are like, oh, they're an alright team. They don't have that. They're not that good. They might make the playoffs. No. They will probably win the division. Even with the Jets, even with the Bills, they will probably win the division if Tua remains healthy. They have Jalen Waddle. They have great receivers. They have Tyreek Hill, a top 5 receiver, most likely top 3. And you're going to tell me that they're just going to be okay. No, they're Super Bowl contenders if Tua remains healthy. Moving on, we have the Vikings. They lost Adam Thielen. They lost Dalvin Cook. They still have Alexander Madison, who's a great running back. He just hasn't been used that much. They just drafted a new wide receiver. They're going to make the playoffs. Even if they don't win the division, they will make the playoffs. People are acting like the team's not that good. They just improved their defense. They got a new defensive head coach. A defensive coach. And the biggest point overall is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is top 3, if not top 2 in the NFC. People heavy underrate Kirk Cousins. They just think he's an okay quarterback. If you look at his stats, you will realize that he is a great quarterback. In the game against the Giants, where he lost, just because of one play, he went around 31-40. He was great. He was playing great. The defense sold. The defense was horrible last year, and they got better. Even though they removed some star defensive players, their defense got better than it was before. And the Vikings, I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl, sadly. I am kind of a Vikings fan. But people are underrating them heavy. Don't forget that Kirk Cousins is a great quarterback. Don't forget about Justin Jefferson, who is the best wide receiver in the league. Don't act like Dalvin Cook leaving is going to lead them to 9-8 and missing the playoffs. They will win at least 11 games and make the playoffs. Next, we have the Patriots. And I feel like some people are also overrating the Patriots. They're going to miss the playoffs. I don't think they'll do that good. Their division's too good. They'll probably go 0-6 They might go. They're good against the Jets. The Jets are hard. They might go 1-5. But the Patriots aren't that good of a team. Mac Jones is not that good of a quarterback. They don't have that good of receivers. They just got Juju. They are in the race to get DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins does not want to go there, but they could have a good receiver core. And their defense is alright. But with Mac Jones, they're just not going to be that good of a team. Next is the Saints. And I really should put them here. I will. I don't think Derek Carr is a good QB. Not at all. I don't think trading for Derek Carr was a good move. I don't think Derek Carr will bring them to the playoffs. Unless they win the division. Which I don't think they will do. I think they'll go 6-11. They'll be disappointed in Derek Carr. They might give him one more year, and they'll probably just get rid of him. I don't think Derek Carr can bring them to the playoffs. Alvin Kamara, great running back, has been facing charges, or was facing charges, I'm not too sure, not following it, for about a year now. Michael Thomas has not played for years. He is practicing, but he's not played for years, and he's one of their main wide receivers. And I just don't think they'll win the division. They could. I won't be too surprised, but I don't think they win the division. Giants? People are overrating the Giants too. Daniel Jones threw less touchdowns, I believe, than Russell Wilson. He only threw 3,000, right around 4,000 yards. And he's making $40 million per year. That's near Patrick Mahomes' level of pay. He doesn't deserve. They should have waited. If he plays better this year, I will be surprised. They have Saquon Barkley, who is a great running back. But I don't think he's going to stay. It already seems like he doesn't want to stay. I'm not sure if he's even been practicing or not. He did not like the franchise tag at all. He wants a Christian McCaffrey type pay. And the Giants just didn't give it to him. So I'm worried about him not staying. They don't even have that good of receivers. And I don't think their defense is that good. If they play the Eagles, even if they make the playoffs, they're losing. They can't beat the Eagles. They'll get destroyed. But I just don't think they will make the playoffs, like some people are saying. Next is the Jets. And with the Aaron Rodgers trade, they're a playoff team. Don't get me wrong, this could end up like the Russell Wilson trade, where Aaron Rodgers is horrible and they go 5-12. But they swept the Rookie of the Years. They took Defensive Player of the Year with my boy Sauce. And they took Offensive Rookie of the Year with Garrett Wilson. Aaron Rodgers is still a top 10 QB, even though he didn't play that good last year. And he has some Packers players to familiarize himself with. Their team is overall very good, and I do believe they'll make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I don't think they can beat the Chiefs. They could go head-to-head with the Bengals. They could go head-to-head with the Dolphins. They could go head-to-head with the Bills. I don't see them making the Super Bowl, but they'll probably make the playoffs. Next is the Steelers. As much as I want to put them in a playoff team, they probably go 9-8. And with the conference that they're in, that might not be enough to get in. But I think they'll go 9-8 or 10-7. I'm a huge fan of Kenny Pickett. I think he's going to do great this year. He's going to make a massive improvement. Going to prove everyone wrong. They have George Pickens. He's a great wide receiver. Their defense is great. I wouldn't say great, but good. And they have Mike Tomlin. the coach who has never had a losing record. The worst he's been is 8-8 or 8-7-1. I think of both. The worst he's been is 8-8, not breaking 500, but still being on 500. He's never had a losing season. So they're going to at least make 9-8. And if that's enough to make the playoffs, they make the playoffs. If it's not, they don't. It all depends on the other teams, honestly, in the division. Next, we have 2 Super Bowl contenders. First, we'll start off with the Eagles. They're the best team in the NFC by a long shot. AJ Green, Devontae Smith, Jalen is top 4, maybe top 5. Their defense is amazing. They have a lot of Georgia players. Just saying. Their team is great. They will win the division, not the Cowboys. They will most likely win the conference. And that's really all I have to say, because they're really that good. Next, we have the 49ers. And the 49ers are obviously playoff contenders. They might make the Super Bowl. It's just the quarterback. If they figure out their quarterback, I think they'll make the Super Bowl. If Brock Purdy plays and he does better than last year, they'll make the Super Bowl. I believe they can beat the Eagles with Brock Purdy and the team they have. Like I said, I have Bengals and Niners, in my personal opinion, for Super Bowl. Might be the Chiefs, might be the Eagles, might be the Dolphins. But I think that the Niners and the Bengals are going to be Super Bowl. And if they find out who their quarterback's going to be, they could definitely win the conference and get the first seed. Which I also have the Bengals getting the first seed. I feel like their schedule is a little bit too easy for the team they have. Yeah. That's all the Super Bowl contenders. I might move one of these playoff teams up if I feel like it. Now, we have the alright teams. The Seahawks. I think they're good enough to be a playoff team. Geno Smith, he's not a one-hit wonder. He just got paid. He's going to do good. He's not going to be great, but he's going to do good. They just drafted Jackson Smith. He was the best wide receiver of the class. They already have great wide receivers. And their defense isn't that bad either. Just got Rams player, one of the best players from Rams defense as well. And I do believe they're a lock for the playoffs. Next, we have Tampa Bay. And although they are, you could say they have an alright roster. You know who else also had an alright roster? The 2017 Browns. They're another one of the contenders to go 0-17. If you've seen the quarterbacks, you know that they don't have a quarterback. They just got the guy who's on Cleveland and with the Rams. And their other choice is Kyle Trask. Which one do you want? Which one do you want to play? Neither. You don't want either of them. They don't have a quarterback. They still have a good wide receiver. Their defense is okay. Their head coach is horrible. Their team just isn't that good. By the way, the guy I was talking about was Baker Mayfield, saying, Titans. Now, if I let my bias out, I'd put them right here. They'll probably go like 5-11, 6-11, I mean, or 5-12. Tannehill is washed. The guy they just drafted, the mailman, is terrible. He's not good. Will Levis is not a good QB. They don't have young players. Their team is really old. Derrick Henry, he's top 3, and he is 3. He is 3. I think Jonathan Taylor's better than him. Christian McCaffrey is obviously better. Derrick Henry is getting old. He is getting a little washed. He's not going to carry. He didn't carry last year. He's not going to carry this year. Ryan Tannehill is not that good. They don't have that good of receivers. I don't think they're going to be that good of a team. They're not close to winning the division. They're just not really that good. They had their chance, and they blew it. And they're just not going to come back from it. Last, but certainly not least, is the Commanders. Hear me out. They still have Terry McLaurin, who is probably top 7. I think that their quarterback, who I don't remember his name, because he only played for 1 game, but he looked really good. And mind you, it was against the Cowboys, who were trying. They were trying at the start, and they destroyed him. So I believe that they might have a chance. A chance. A small chance. It's very small, but they have a chance. Anyway, to recap, the teams I have maybe getting the number 1 pick, bottom teams overall, are the Bucks and the Cardinals, who, again, I think they are contenders to go 0-17. The Texans and the Raiders. The teams that will most definitely miss the playoffs are the Packers, the Bears, the Browns, the Broncos, the Rams, the Patriots, and the Titans. The teams that could make the playoffs, who are on the fence, are the Falcons, the Panthers, the Chargers, the Saints, the Giants, the Steelers, and the Commanders. And I have the Colts up here because I'm biased. They should probably be down here. I don't want to put them down there. Teams that are pretty much a lock for the playoffs are the Ravens, the Bills, the Cowboys, the Lions, the Jaguars, the Vikings, the Jets, and the Seahawks. And the teams that are contending for the Super Bowl are the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Eagles, and the Niners. Thank you for watching. This has been a pretty long video. I don't know how long it is, but I hope you watched through it all. If you have any disagree, then comment below. Obviously, leave a like and subscribe. Not going to be like that. I don't really care. And I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in my next video, which I'm gonna try to upload more. I'm pretty bad with that, obviously. But anyway, see you next time.